Hi, I'm Pedro. I'm a PhD student in Brazil. And first of all, I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity to be here. It's a very unique experience for me. And today, I'm going to present to you a work made in collaboration with Lucas, that is the next speaker, Rodrigo, and Mauricio Richards, about pseudospectrum of a Schwarzschild-like black holes. So I want to start, just remember something about black hole spectroscopy. When we do black hole spectroscopy, usually in the ring door, we used to think that the quasinormal mode spectrum is stable, which means that if we have a small change in the geometry, this leads to small change in the quasinormal mode spectrum. But a lot of this already was said in other nice talks here, that black holes are open systems. Then they lose energy through infinity, they lose energy through horizon, and then we can't use emission theorems to ensure the stability of the quasinormal mode spectrum. So here, in my talk, I want to talk about stability of quasinormal mode spectrum in a specific way that will be more clear in the next few minutes. But I just want to address that. I want to talk a little bit about quasinormal mode spectrum stabilities. Okay, but what happened is in standard coordinates, we can do black hole spectroscopy theory, but we have a powerful advantage in use hyperboloidal approach because we compactify the space-time, we bring the infinity closer to a finite distance, and then we can request the quasinormal mode problem to an eigenvalue problem. So we can, instead of solving a Schrödinger-like equation, we can solve an eigenvalue problem where we have an operator L, an eigenvector, and eigenvalues of some regular operator. But how black holes are open systems, we need more than just the quasinormal mode spectrum to see if the quasinormal mode spectrum is stable or not. We need another tool that is the pseudospectrum. And to construct the pseudospectrum, we will make use of a resolvent of the operator. And we can extend this notion of the resolvent, constructing the pseudospectrum, that is the collection of points in the complex plane where the inverse of the resolvent is minor than some size of some perturbation epsilon. Okay, so, but this is mathematics. We can plot the pseudospectrum, and we can see the pseudospectrum as a topographic map, and just look to the pseudospectrum and said, okay, this quasinormal mode spectrum is stable or is unstable. And how can we do that? For example, to a stable spectrum, when we look to the pseudospectrum, we see that here in this case, this is the pseudospectrum of a self-adjoint operator. And we see that the color patterns is more monochromatic. And we have, in the contour lines, these white contour lines, are concentric circles around the modes. There are the red dots. There are the eigenvalues of the operator. So when we look to the pseudospectrum and we see these concentric lines, a monochromatic patterns of colors, then we can say that the quasinormal mode spectrum of this operator is stable. Otherwise, if we have an unstable operator, for example, here is a pseudospectrum of Schwarzschild spacetime, Then we have no more concentric circles around the modes, but we have open contour lines, and we don't have any more monochromatic color. We have more pattern of color, more complex here in the pseudospectrum. So this is how qualitatively we can just look to the pseudospectrum and tell, okay, this spectrum is stable, the quasi-normal mode spectrum of this operator is stable, or the quasi-normal mode spectrum of this operator is unstable. So what? What happened is, in this work, and as well were said by Jose in about 30 seconds of his talks, they found that random perturbations can stabilize the post-stellar spectrum. And we can see this. Here we have a random perturbation of size 10 to minus 16. And we start to see a monochromatic pattern here. If we have bigger, a stronger perturbation like this, 10 up to minus 8, the pseudospectrum qualitatively, we can see that a bigger region of this spectrum is monochromatic and appears a concentric circle around a mode here. And if we have even more strange perturbation, like 1, almost all the spectrum is monochromatic, and we have have more than one concentric circles around modes here. Okay, so random perturbations improve analyticity of the resolvent, as Jose said, and then the pseudospectrum become more stable. But what about physical perturbations? So here, the main question of my talk is, what happens if you add physical perturbation to a spectrally unstable spacetime or operator? If you calculate the pseudospectrum of this new perturbed operator, this new perturbed spacetime, would be the spectrum more stable, like it happens when you add random perturbation, or the spectrum will remain unstable? So this is the main questions that I want to address here. And in order to do this, we will construct a deformed Schwarzschild spacetime in such a way that this new spacetime will have extra parameters relative to Schwarzschild, but these extra parameters will be constrained in such a way that in a physically motivated way. And this I want to discuss a little bit now. How can we construct this spacetime? Here, we are based on another previous work of Rodrigo with Cardoso. And, I'll take this a little bit later. So here, we really use a parametric generalization of spherically symmetric spacetime, that is Rezzolla-Zhidenko metric, that generalize all the spherically symmetric spacetimes. In fact, here these functions A of R and B of R is written in terms of other things, but what matters here is that in the end of the day, this metric is written in terms of continuous fractions, and we have a lot of extra terms, as many as you wish, to describe this matrix. So these extra terms are epsilon, A0, A1, A2, etc., B0, B1, B2, etc. In this case, when epsilon, A0, A1, B0, and B1 are equal to 0, we recover the Schwarzschild spacetime. Okay, but here, this is too generic. We now want to constrain these parameters in such a way, in a such physically reasonable way, and then we will look to this new deformed spacetime as a perturbation of the original Schwarzschild spacetime. And to do this, now, yes, we will use a strategy used by Rodrigo Cardoso and Casta in a previous work, where they first, to ensure to satisfy solar systems observations of post-Newtonian parameters, they set A0 equals to epsilon and B0 equals to 0. When we set this second condition, we set that the mass functions of our spacetime in the far limit is equal to the ADM mass. Okay, so we already constrained two parameters, but we want that our spacetime have some physical properties. So to ensure that the Hawking temperature, the density at the horizon, and the pressure at the horizon have the same values of the Schwarzschild spacetime, in order to have this, we set A1 equals to epsilon, B1 equals to 0, and A2 equals to minus 2. And here, you can note that if we set B1 equals to 0, then we truncate and we eliminate this continuous fraction, and so all the other B's are also equals to 0. Okay, but still remain free A3, A4, etc. We can just setting A4 equals to 0 to truncate the continuous fraction. And then we can permit that the A3 become free. Also, epsilon is free. And then we reduce the space of parameters to a two-parametric family of spacetimes fixed by epsilon and A3. Okay, so now we have a spacetime that has some properties equals to Schwarzschild, near horizon, and that satisfies some observation of post-Newtonian parameters. And then we want to calculate quasinormal mode spectrum and the pseudospectrum of this new perturbed spacetime. Just to talk a little bit more about the physically reasonable feature of this spacetime, we calculated the energy density of this spacetime, and we see that the energy density is positive along the spacetime. So this is a crucial property. This is a physical reasonable feature. We see that in particular, if you choose A3 equals to 1, the density profile reach its maximum at the photon sphere. And as the A3 increases, the peaks move closer to the horizon surface. Okay, now we have our spacetime. Let's calculate the quasinormal mode spectrum. Here, I'm showing the quasinormal mode spectrum of the axial modes for L equals M equals 2. And we see that the overtones, in some cases, in some configurations of this deformed spacetime, looks unstable because we have this open branch, quasinormal mode branch here, for example, in this case. But this is not sufficient to tell about the stability or not of the quasinormal mode spectrum. We need more, and we can have more calculating the pseudospectrum of this spacetime. And when we do this, before this, I just want to say that the parameter epsilon is responsible for which overtone the instability is triggered. And the A3 is responsible for how open the quasinormal modes are, the quasinormal modes branch are open or not. So this is the function of these two parameters in this spacetime. Okay, so when we calculate the pseudospectrum, we see here is just two cases when epsilon is 10 to minus 4 and A3 is equals to 20, and epsilon is 10 to minus 4 and A3 is equals to 500. And And we see that the spectrum of the quasi-normal mode is unstable in this case also. In spite of, when we add the random perturbation, the pseudospectrum of the new perturbed operator, the new case is more stable. Here, we found that the perturbed spacetime remains unstable. Just to remind you, if the pseudospectrum, the quasi-normal mode spectrum was stable, we would see concentric curves around the modes in the pseudospectrum. Okay, this is the main message that I want to talk here, but we can add extra perturbations to the spacetime. So what happens? And we did this. We added an extra perturbation to the potential of this already perturbed spacetime in order to analyze the quasi-normal mode spectrum. This new perturbation is the form of the sinusoid here, where eta is the size of the perturbation, k its frequency. And this is, of course, an ad hoc perturbation put it on the potential, but it's a little bit different to the case of random perturbation, because here we have at least a little bit control of the frequency and the size of the perturbation. And when we add these perturbations, we see that the quasi-normal mode spectrum become even more unstable, in the sense that if you increase this perturbation, the quasi-normal mode branes are widely open, and the instability is triggered at lower overtones. But we found also that some case of perturbed spacetimes and Schwarzschild, the overtones of some perturbed space in the Schwarzschild overlap each other. So from this, we can say that it's difficult. Just looking to the instability of the overtone says if this instability came from the geometry itself of the spacetime or came through extra deformations to the spacetime. So this is what I want to say. And just what final remarks. Since physically perturbed spacetime remains unstable, the assumption of random perturbations stabilize the spectrum looks to have no physical implication. And additionally, we find that adding an extra perturbation to the potential makes quasi-normal mode spectrum more unstable. And about future work, maybe we can explore spectral stability of rotating black holes, spacetime like Kerr, or even beyond Kerr. That's it. Thank you.